All right, we're going to get started in just a moment. If the board members could please make sure you have your microphones on. Thank you. Okay, good evening. The hour being 6:30 PM on Monday, January 22nd, 2024. I'd like to call to order the Village of Brookfield Board meeting. Would everyone please join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Rich, could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Ketchmark?
Here.
Trustee Cote?
Here.
Trustee Hendricks?
Here.
Trustee... Okay, sorry. Trustee Gahuli?
Here.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Here.
And Trustee Niramatsu?
Here.
And President Garvey.
Here. Thank you. Okay, we don't have any appointments or presentations, so at this point, I will open the meeting to public comment. Is there anyone on this side of the audience who would like to make any public comment? Okay, if you could come up to the microphone, just give your name for the record, please. We'll go one at a time, and people will be, as many people as necessary, but, and you could raise that up to, well, okay, thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Good evening, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for your time. I wanted to go over a concern that we have with a venue and the party place, Creative Party, and the venue that is on 9105 Ogden and 9109 Ogden. For over 2.5 years, we have been dealing with loud noises of music past the codes and rules imposed on the business known as Creative Party Package Plus, located on 9105 Ogden, and the venue located on 9109 Ogden Avenue, both owned and rented by the same person. People not of this community disturbing and disrupting tax-paying citizens' peace and desire to enjoy the home they have worked so hard to maintain. I'm sure we all can understand the constant care and upkeep it takes to be a homeowner and the pride that we take in doing this. We have witnessed drunkenness, people defecating on the building and wiping themselves only to leave the feces and tissue pasted on the walls, people urinating on our property and the properties of our neighbors, people drinking and leaving all their waste in the alleys, on our property and in the parking lot areas, beer bottles, cans, and just plain garbage, leaving it for neighbors to pick up or for it to be blown by the wind all over our neighborhood community. People vomiting on or near our property, loitering way after the event has been over, people doing drugs. They entered the venue during the time that they would come out, during and after the time that they would come out to the alley, they would be smoking marijuana, and after the event as well. We also have rats now, the size of possums, due to the surplus of garbage that overflows their trash cans. I'd like to take a moment right now to please give these photos to the village trustees, if I may.
Absolutely. You could just, if you want to hand them, they could pass them down or whatever.
Sure.
I made a copy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry.
That's all right, we'll skip one.
We could share. We're a sharing group, we could share.
If you would like, there are some pictures that James is going to share about the overage of trash. I did not have those pictures with me, but we have witnessed a gentleman carrying their garbage to the Merrick's dumpster because they had overflow in their own dumpster. And then because they had overflow at the Merrick's, they went over to the State Farm dumpster and dumped their garbage there as well. We have witnessed, we have two, let's see, bear with me. There on the second packet is showing pictures of a gentleman walking to Merrick's garbage dumpster and then also walking past their business venue and going to the State Farm dumpster to dump their excess garbage. We have 2 pets, and we have no longer feel comfortable leaving them in the backyard for fear of these rats might bite them and cause rabies or anything worse than that. We no longer feel safe within our own home and neighborhood because of the activities and the lack of care for the community by the property owners and renters of the aforementioned business. We'd like to show some of the pictures of all the young people that were gathered on January 3rd. There were over 75 young people underage drinking, and as you can see in those pictures, trespassing on our property, infringing on our privacy, infringing on our peace and quiet. These young people were the same young people that when we called the police, proceeded to take out their cameras, grab their private parts, and proceed to flip off the police department. No respect and decency for authority. So we did not feel comfortable even coming out of our home to address that matter, because if they didn't respect the police, we felt not comfortable stepping out and addressing that issue with them. I am not a spring chicken, and I am not about to handle or tackle these young people that have no regard for authority or for any people of elderly age. There have been many instances, I'm sure, that you can relate to where you have gone to a restaurant or a place of business, and because you did not receive that adequate service, you did not say anything, you just simply didn't patronage that service again. Well, to that point, there have been 12 homes in our block alone that have moved out of their homes and sold them. Homes valued at over $300,000. The business lost their LLC license in October of 2023, yet they are still conducting business in the venue. As recently as this evening when we were coming down here, the village code inspector put a sign that it was uninhabitable, that human beings were no longer allowed to partake in there, and they completely disregarded those signs and are in there presently booming and dancing away. They do not have a liquor license, but even on their website, there are displays of pictures of events with beer bottles on the table and alcohol. My question is this, ladies and gentlemen, how is this happening? How are the village code enforcers not aware of this? How can a business that doesn't have a liquor license, an expired LLC license, or even a BYOB permit be conducting business right under the nose of our village board and nothing is being said or done? What safeguards and precautionary measures are being implemented to have been implemented that are not being enforced or adhered to? Who is responsible for ensuring that LLC permits, LLCs, permits, and et cetera are being renewed, or informing those that have expired that they can no longer conduct business in the village of Brookfield? What is going on with the infrastructure of the village of Brookfield that this is happening and nothing is being done about it? When we complained about our concerns, we were told to call the police. On a positive, when we have, and they were able to come, because obviously you know the severity, the triage, it dictates whether they can come at a timely manner or not. But when they did, they have been very attentive to our concerns, and some form of action would follow. They would stop by and disperse the rabble-rousers. Yes, I called them rabble-rousers. Officer Martinez was one of those public servants that was very helpful. Megan Shilney, who is the permit services conductor, provided great information and insight for us. Jordan Eisenberg, the code inspector, was top-notch. So what does this tell me? That you guys are either not aware of this circumstance, because I know you care. I know you care because you're here right now. Every time we spoke to any of these individuals, they were informative, supportive, and educated us on the ways to best address our concerns and our dilemma. Some of us have lived in Brookfield all our lives. Our parents were raised here, and they raised their children here. My mother-in-law passed away here looking out her window in Brookfield, and she lived a majority of her life here, and she felt safe here. I don't think she'd feel that way anymore. Some of us, like myself, have lived in Brookfield for over 30 years. Brookfield was and still does have the potential of being the quaint, quiet community. I moved here because it gave me the Mayberry feel. I may be dating myself, but I think some of us know where Mayberry was. The type of feel, I know some of us, excuse me, many of us have moved here from the city because we no longer wanted to feel like we had to look over our shoulder for fear of being attacked or assaulted when we were walking around the block or walking our dogs. This is no longer how I feel, which saddens me. There are a lot of elderly people in our community, and many of us have worked so hard to prepare our homes to age in place. Now we are concerned that a business like this has had us to rethink if this is even a possibility anymore. I can attest to how quickly a neighborhood can change. I'm a witness. I lived in the city, and I know how hard it is to transform it back once it has gone downhill. Many of us chose Brookfield because we love Brookfield, because Brookfield is a hidden treasure where we opted to invest our livelihood because we felt safe, because we felt welcome, because we felt that our interests aligned with those of the leaders we elected and voted into office to protect those interests as well as guide the citizens and taxpayers of this great community. Many of us feel, whether it is intentional or not, that we have been let down by those that took an oath to serve this community. We ask you to ask yourselves, this business was next door to your home. Kitch and Russ, I know where you live, and I know what pride you take in your home. I've seen it. I've actually taken some of the ideas of your place because I liked it so much. So I understand that you guys care about your homes, and so I would like to ask you, would you feel safe? Would you be okay if your parents were living next to this? I asked the board, what would you do if your mother, your father, or your sister lived next to this? Would you be okay with it? What would you do if this was in your backyard? What would action be swiftly taken? I have passed the former village president's house, Bill Russ and Mr. Kretschmar, many a times and have noticed how well maintained and cared for their homes are. I also know that the present village president, Mike Garvey, is an active member of this community, and he coaches our community baseball team and is well invested in the well-being of Brookfield. So I ask, now that you are aware of this concerning matter, what will you guide us to do? What steps can we take to ensure that we feel safe in this great community we live in? What steps can be taken to remind us that you are vested in the well-being of the people of Brookfield? I close by saying I am not trying to point the finger to any of you. Well, except the party venue, that is. That I also want to thank you, and I hope that we can work together to find a resolution to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much for speaking tonight. And, you know, one thing I want to address right away is, you know, the fact that you said you did not want to go out and confront these people. I do not go out and try and confront anyone in any situation like this. I know Chief supports me completely. Don't try and take matters in your own hand. Even if you felt you could, please don't call the police in a situation like that, and don't try and address matters yourself. This is a situation that we're aware of. There is not a valid business license. You're aware of the fact that there's a non-occupancy sticker on there. I can't, and we don't ever comment on investigations, enforcement actions, what steps we're taking. I can tell you that every department in the village is aware of this, including the police department, our village attorney, our code department, the village manager's office. Other agencies outside the village of Brookfield are aware of this. We are doing everything within our power to enforce this. They have to apply for a business license. They're not guaranteed a business license. They are not allowed to. So I just ask that you do what you've been doing in terms of if you see something, call. If you believe it's an urgent matter, call 911. If you believe it's a non-urgent matter, call the non-emergency number. But there, again, I don't want to comment what's going on. We're aware, and there are people watching the place. I don't want to go beyond saying that, but we're going to take every effort. We're going to make every legal step that we can to make sure that they're not violating. They can face code violations and significant fines, which could be on a daily basis. They are very well aware of what they can and can't be doing, and right now they can't be doing anything other than addressing life safety issues that they've been cited for. They're not supposed to be operating any events. So that's all I can say without jeopardizing any investigation or enforcement or anything else right now.
President Garvey, I wanted to close also with saying, as we were leaving here, Frank blocked my car from getting out of the garage and approached me and basically said, I heard you were talking to people about us disrupting and being noisy. And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, move your car. And he said, but can we talk about it? And I said, please move your car. And so he said, so it's like that. So it concerns me that pictures that were given to the village in confidence somehow have been brought to his attention, because he was very specific about the pictures and and described them in detail. And so I ask you to ask, where did that information get divulged out to him?
Okay, I'll ask staff to address that. I mean, anything given to the board tonight is part of the public record. I mean, we reviewed this stuff. I mean, we're on, people might be watching this online right now. We know there's pictures available. If you feel threatened by anything he said, or that there's any threat against you for bringing something forward, I know members of our police department bringing something forward. I know members of our police department will speak with you if you feel that's the case. I'm not aware of, and again, I'm not going to comment on what we know, when we knew it, what the investigation is, what enforcement things are going on, because that's not prudent to do.
I understand, and thank you for your time.
I appreciate you coming out, and I appreciate the information you presented to us tonight. Are there other people that want to speak of this? Yes, sir, if you could come up. All I ask is when you come up, if you could just give us your name for the record, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Carlson. First of all, I apologize to a couple of the trustees because I got your information off of something, obviously, that had your name spelled incorrectly, and if it is, I apologize. I want to thank you all for what you do. We know that this is your village and your community as well. I'd like to publicly acknowledge a couple of people that have supported us in this process so far, and one of them is Megan Shilney in Permit Services, Jordan Eisenberg and Paul Trudeau, Officer Martinez, who responded to an incident at the venue on Thursday, January 4th, and took appropriate action. It was swift, it was expedient. He contained a very, very difficult situation, which could have resulted in an extremely negative outcome for our neighborhood. There was probably about 200 kids just running around, and it was out of control. The venue has created a situation where I feel unsafe in my own home. There's times at night where I won't go to bed until every last car is left, because these aren't people from our neighborhood. These kids weren't from our neighborhood. I've lived here for my whole life. This is a really bad situation, and it's not safe. Human feces, public urination, vomiting, intoxication, public alcohol use, public drug use, public drunkenness, loitering, loud music, disturbing the peace, excessive garbage, rats overcrowding, lack of parking, and even public sexual interactions. This is happening in our community on the main strip of Ogden Avenue. Let that just sink in for a minute. Frank and Tanya moved into 9105, 9109 Ogden on October 31st, 2020, and opened Creative Party Packages Plus. They started renovating 9109 to be a party venue room. I called Mike Schwartz in Village Planning on 4/1/21. I asked him about the hours of operation. He didn't know. Capacity requirements. He didn't know. Liquor on the premises. He said they had a BOYB section 6-52 liquor code. I questioned him as to how this was permitted because of lack of parking. He stated that Catherine, and I don't know if I'm saying this name correctly, Engel, approved the business, and the previous planner gave their okay as well. And they included all business parking spaces on Park and Elm Avenue, including public street parking in front of our homes as well. I asked him about noise, and he told me, call the police. I asked him how the village would handle problems like the ones I've mentioned above, and he told me, and I quote, well, you can always use social media and post your complaints online. When Steve Campbell wanted to put a pool hall in the same exact location 25 years ago, he was denied at the village planning and zoning meeting that many of us attended because he lacked appropriate parking spaces needed. And he was told he could not use the business parking spaces and street parking to meet the parking requirements to open a pool hall. On January 2020, Carolyn Sanchez of Let's Play Child Development Center was looking to utilize 9105, 9109. There was a planning zoning meeting, which many of us attended. The main topic of conversation was concerns about adequate parking and traffic patterns. The business was allowed to open, meeting strict parking and traffic requirements. I don't understand what changed. To allow 150 to 200 plus people of any given function at the venue to be allowed to park all over our community when this has not been allowed for the last 25 years. What changed? The venue only has one men's bathroom and one women's bathroom. The capacity limits for a venue are one toilet for every 50 guests and additional toilets for every 4-hour increments past the first 4 hours. If you rent for 6 hours and expect 150 people, you need at least 3 toilets. With 2 toilets, they should be limited to no more than 100 people, and yet they advertise for 150 guests plus. This has been going on since June of 2020. We lost 12 homeowners on the block of 41 Park Avenue in the past 2 years alone, with a total of over $4 million in property transfers. 4 of the homes valued on our block are between $400,000 to $500,000. At these home prices, we should not be subjected to the blight that this business is creating in our neighborhood. People don't complain, they just leave. It has also been brought to my attention that the venue lost their LLC in October of 2023. That's 3 months ago. It was dissolved. They currently have no valid business license and no permit to allow alcohol on the premises. They were shut down by code enforcement on January 8th and still continue to run operations of their business with no ramifications whatsoever. They're open right now with huge orange stickers on the front and back of their building saying this building is not fit for human occupation. But they're open right now. And Frank, I can't think of the word. He tried to approach us in our alley as we were leaving our home. We're not safe in our own home anymore, not with this going on. Why are they still operating without a business license? Why are they allowed to seek a new business license and even a liquor license? I have severe hearing loss from birth, and I can hear and feel the music at every function from the venue with all my windows and doors closed in my home every single time a function is going on there. All the above concerns have been documented and brought to Frank and Tanya's attention and have been ignored. Things are clearly just escalating and getting worse. I've lived in Brookfield for over 55 years, 30 years at my current address. My parents owned their only home on the block of 4600 Prairie for 63 years. My mother loved this community, and she raised 6 of us kids at St. Barbara's School and took her last breath looking out her living room window because that's where she wanted to be. I love our home. I put 30 years of sweat equity into maintaining it, obtaining permits, following the rules, paying my taxes, and doing what I'm supposed to do as a responsible citizen. All I would like to do at this point in my life is to live peacefully and age in place in my own home. be that God's will, just like my mother did. This has been going on for 2.5 years. You all have the power to do something about this tragic situation that was created right here in this village hall. I beg you, please right this wrong and restore faith in the residents that have been subjected to this unnecessary attack on our neighborhood and community in the center of the Ogden Avenue Business District. I beg you, please. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Who else, anybody else would like to say anything? Is there someone? Clearly, the board is aware of this. I mean, I appreciate you trying. I don't want anyone to feel they can't talk. Everyone's welcome to talk. Obviously, we're aware of the situation. I'm going to tell everyone the same thing. We're very well aware of it. There is, again, I don't mean to be secretive. We can't comment on the steps that we're taking. It's for everybody's best interest that we're not commenting on the steps that we're taking, that we will take legal action, enforcement action, investigative action, agencies involved. I can't comment on that without jeopardizing what we're trying to do. They do not have a valid business license. They're not supposed to be operating. They're being watched. We'll deal with everything we can. I just encourage you, again, if you feel you're confronted by someone and you feel threatened, to please notify the police department, okay? Please don't take any matters into your own hands. Contact the police department if you feel like someone's threatening you in any way. Just for your own, that's the number one thing, is your own safety, okay? Thank you for, is there anyone else that would like to say anything? Obviously, we're all listening, we're aware of this, we have, I can assure you that everyone's taking steps necessary, even as we speak, as to what we can within our powers, and will continue to do so. But I want to give everyone else a chance to say anything else, so. I can
My
feel-
name's Phil Ketton. I've been a resident of Brookfield for 37 years. And, it's been a long time, and been very involved in the community and things like that. I think the question that I would have is, I understand this is being addressed. You're all well aware of what's happened and what's been happening. There are codes, and codes need to be followed. If I was to try to do something on my property and I was going outside of the code, I think it would be handled very swiftly. My ask, I guess, is for this board to put that same swiftness in front of this issue, since it seems like it's a lot bigger than having something 6 inches off of a property line. This is really serious, where it's affecting a neighborhood and potentially turning that neighborhood over, and potentially opening up opportunities for others to see what's happening and saying, if they can do it, so can I. So if you could help us understand, or help the community understand, what controls you'll put in place to address these things, how quickly will you be able to address these situations so that people can get on with their lives, and not feel impacted by what's happening?
I could just assure you that citations are issued when code violations are observed, whether they're code violations. When there's code violations, which are violations of our village building code and safety codes, citations are issued, and there's due process. They're adjudicated in a hearing process. The people are entitled to due process. If there's criminal violations, they are dealt with by the police department, and there's no need to give instruction to the code or police department to enforce or issue citations. That's what they do, and they're aware of it, and citations are issued when appropriate, whether they're criminal conduct or code, and they will be dealt with appropriately.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to say something?
I was just going to thank Jim and Jose for very eloquently stating what's going on in our concerns.
They,
This is one, how do we know there's not other ones down the block, same thing happening?
Yeah.
well, we try and pride ourselves in trying to see as much as possible, but I know I speak for staff and the police department. We appreciate the extra eyes out there. I don't think I've heard, and I don't think I will ever hear, like, you calling the police department to say something and they say, don't bother us or anything like that. If you see
Our
something,
police department is, they're great.
so if you see something, say something, and then we will follow up and monitor it and investigate it appropriately. we have to do things within the state law and with the other laws that we have to, and we have to give the appropriate due process, but I know, I'm speaking for the board, we're aware of this, and that we understand the seriousness of it, and I don't want to jeopardize anything that we're doing right now by saying too much more than.
Hey, go to Brookfield, they don't, they'll let kids stay for 6
Yeah.
months.
Well, we'll see how that, sure.
I appreciate everything that you're doing, and I actually absolutely understand 100% that there's a process and that you need to follow certain steps legally and just according to village procedures. Is there any way you could just give us a window of time that this might be rectified? If you can't, that's fine.
I really can't, because that would comment in terms of what possible actions are being taken. I mean,
Okay.
if, again, in
Okay.
general, if there is violations being notified, they could be daily citations, daily fines for code violations, and then they have to be adjudicated that way. In terms of police or criminal conduct, the police department would issue the appropriate criminal citations, which would go to the Cook County Circuit Court in the 4th District, and those will be dealt with through the due process there. And in terms of any other agencies that might be involved in terms of liquor or other things, again, we're going to follow everything
Yeah.
in place, and they are well aware that they are being watched. And
Under the circumstances that we have this evening, what would your procedure be to take care of the fact that they have occupancy?
again, I don't want to comment
Oh,
to who's
okay. All right.
doing
I
what
understand.
right now as we
Okay.
speak, or other things that can be done.
Okay.
We are aware that they allegedly were having an event tonight, and we will take whatever enforcement action we can
Okay.
based on that tonight. Again, I'm really not trying to be cryptic.
Oh,
It's
no,
ju-
I
it-
understand.
It is for the village's best interest that I don't comment what steps we have taken,
Yeah.
are taking, and will continue to take,
Okay.
other than we're taking every measure possible and are taking
Thank
it
you.
very seriously.
Thank
So
you.
I hope you understand that.
I do, and I don't want you guys to feel like we have unrealistic expectations. It's taken us 2.5 years to gather information to be able to say, hey, and actually, I said to my friend, it was probably November, middle of December, I said, something's changed here. I said, and he goes, well, when do you think it changed? And ironically, I didn't know they lost their LLC in October, but I said, something changed in October, because the Tanya that ran the Creative Party balloon part of it, we haven't seen her since October. That part of the business isn't operating at all. And so then we noticed a change in the attendance at the venue, and I said to one of our neighbors, I said, it's almost like they're running a weekend nightclub here now instead of a venue. So we do understand, and thank you very much.
And again, if you feel you're being confronted or threatening for coming forward here, please, I know the police want you to call immediately. Our police chief is here, Lieutenant Hans in the back of the room. If you're on the way out, if you have any questions about what you shouldn't call on, I know Lieutenant would address those with you, but you should not be confronted for coming here or speaking out. We are aware of it. We do want you to share information. This is part of public record. I mean, the board got to see this, so it's part of the public record. But please rely on our police department. If you're unsure about anything, whether you're sure it's a violation or not, please call the police and ask them. Or if you feel you're being confronted or your ingress or egress is limited, do not confront them. Get out of the situation and call the police immediately. Okay. Yes, okay, I'm sorry, there's someone back.
My
go-
name's Jose Flores, just because I didn't say it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, sir, could you have your name, please?
Yes, my name is Felix. So my question is, there's like a 2-hour parking permit there for where they park those cars. They stay there longer than that. We never see anybody going down there giving them tickets.
Okay.
I mean, is that something that could be something that you guys could do, or?
And
'Cause
the
it's-
the police chief is sitting in the front row there. I mean, in general, we try and enforce all our ordinances, police, that there are triage of issues in terms of what is, with the number of officers that we have on the street at a given time and the issues that we're dealing with. But they will ticket whenever they can and whenever appropriate with what else is going on, so.
Okay. Now, does it help that we call the cops every time that we have this issue? I mean, the more calls you guys get from us saying, hey, this is going on, is that going to benefit when you guys, and I know you guys are doing an investigation, but when it comes to, look, we have the neighbors calling constantly saying, hey, this is going on here, is that gonna be beneficial for us?
If you see what you believe to be violations or of the police or parking or anything else, yeah, please call the police department, non-emergency, unless you think, if it's an emergency or in doubt, if you're being confronted or something like that, call the emergency number. If you believe it's a parking or other situation, call the non-emergency number. But yes, you can call at any time.
Okay, yeah, we just wanna make sure we could call it, I'll be like, hey, you keep calling, stuff like that, but yeah, that's good, thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Live on that street. This is my brother. I'm Karen Carlson Kedzik. What I'm asking is that, or suggesting, I guess, while I was sitting here, I was thinking like, obviously, when you stand up in front of everyone and say, I've seen this, you've now said, I've seen this. And that's going to intimidate someone else as well as someone getting intimidated by you. So is there a way, or maybe it's already happening, I don't know, that they could send up an additional squad around more often during these evenings of these events? Or, just so that the people who are living there already feel safe? Because I know they've all mentioned they don't feel safe, but I don't know, I didn't know about what happened this evening to Jim and Jose, but that was intimidating to hear as a family member, that someone would stop them from getting out of their garage and confront them that is having a problem with them.
Again, I can't comment
I know.
I can't comment on police, but
I'm just asking if you could, if you would consider that, basically. Thank you.
thank you, Karen. Anyone else?
I think you guys have said it all very
Okay. We promise we're going to stay on top of this and do everything we can. It's, like I said, it's the entire team that's involved on this, so we'll do everything we can. And we're going to, I'm sorry, is there any more public comment on this side? I have to do my due diligence. Any public comment on this side further? Anyone on this side? Okay, there's no more public comment, so we're going to move on to the rest of the meeting. And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. I encourage you to stay, but if you're not going to stay, I know we usually don't have this many people at a meeting. If you're going to leave, I'll give you a minute to leave, just because it is a little loud when people leave before we start going on with the rest of the meeting. But if you want to stay and watch, we do other things here tonight. We're going to do that. Yeah. But I do ask, if you are going to leave, if you could go out all the way to the lobby. I see Lieutenant Hans back there, probably interested. But if you could actually go to the lobby, and the acoustics in the room and the hallway are such that we got to be able to hear what's going on here. So thank you for coming out tonight. Welcome to stay, but I'm going to turn my back for a second, and if some of you leave, you leave. If you stick around, you stick around. So
Thank you for hearing us out.
thank you for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, someone left some earmuffs.
There's some earmuffs on the front row under the seat. There's something.
Eagle eye.
I'm sorry, a notice of what?
Did they have notice of the hearing tonight?
This is a regularly scheduled village board meeting. This wasn't on the agenda. This is just the public comment. There's no notice in terms of what happens in public, but this is our regularly scheduled village board meeting.
That's why. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the rest of the agenda. Reports of special committees. Trustee Cote, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve corporate warrant dated January 22nd, 2024, the amount of $1,814,642.25.
Second.
The motion was made by Trustee Cote, second by Trustee Hendricks. Are there any questions?
Trustee Kaluzny.
I heard Trustee Hendricks first.
I heard Trustee Kaluzny.
Okay, I'm the chair of the meeting. I heard Trustee Hendricks, so.
The boss. Okay. Trustee Hendricks.
Sorry, Trustee Kaluzny, you're on my bad side, so.
All good.
Any highlights or anything you
No.
want to point out, Trustee Cote?
Nothing to point out.
Do any board members have any questions or comments on the warrant?
No.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Niramatsu?
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
In regards to DPW has been working diligently ensuring our streets are the best possible conditions during these recent winter storms. So if you do see them, please give them a wave or a thank you. They've been working very hard during this. Also, please make sure that you check your street signs for parking regulations for when there is winter storm. And as always, if you see an issue in town, the best method for passing that information along to Department of Public Works is via the C-Click Fix program. In regards to the library is teaming up with the Greater Chicago Food Depository. We'll be providing afternoon snacks for school-age kids through March 20th from 3 to 5 p.m. You can always find more information on upcoming events with the library via the Sokol Francis Library website. For those veterans that we have, veterans looking for mental health assistance can do so via the Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. Please call 312-569-6177 to get started with enrollment. If you are struggling or know somebody who is struggling, please call 988. If you are a veteran who needs help directly, please call 988 option 1. There are many other contact informations regarding the VA assistance and the Veterans Assistance Program in Cook County. Those links can be found on our website. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Trustee Cote. Trustee Gahuli, Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, just a quick update tonight. The Chamber has not met since our last meeting, but their next regularly scheduled meeting is at noon on February 5th at the Linda Sokol Francis Brookfield Library on the lower level, and non-members and members are all welcome to attend these meetings. Their next event is February 11th. This is the Valentine Senior Social. I don't have any of the additional details on that quite yet, but as soon as we do, those will be posted on their website and on social media, and I'll bring those here as well. And then I do want to announce one thing, the Dancing with the Chamber for 2024 is coming up in April. So if you were familiar with this before, this is like Dancing with the Stars, but it is dancing with someone who is a member of the Chamber of Commerce in conjunction with Teresa Swanson is a Brookfield resident and runs and owns Sway Dance Chicago. So Teresa has volunteered her wonderful expertise to organize this event in conjunction with the Chamber and offer up her professional dance instructors to help volunteers from Brookfield in this really fun social dance competition. The Chamber is going to sponsor all of this, and I will be representing the village in this competition. So look out for posters of all of the dancers. We'll be looking to sell tickets. They'll have their own promotional code and posters. These will be around different businesses in town. So keep an eye out for these. They'll be on Facebook. And if you use the little code that's going to be on these posters, you get a $5 discount for tickets that are $30. So it's a good way to support your local businesses, and come cheer us on, because it's going to take a lot of I don't know what to get up there. So anyway, that's April 27th. So there'll be a lot of dance lessons between now and then. And that ends my report.
I just want to thank you on behalf of the board for taking a bullet for the board, so.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank me later.
Okay. Trustee Hendricks, Planning and Zoning, please.
Next meeting is this Thursday, the 25th, and Trustee Cote will be our liaison that night.
Thank you. Trustee Ketchmark, Administration, Economic Development.
Economic Development Commission met last Wednesday. There was a grant application for another PIP facade grant for the building next to Gosha's for actually two businesses that are moving from Lyons, Ink Your Wear and Comtech Pro. It's a husband-wife team. That was approved by the commission. That will be coming before this board at our next meeting. And there was also a review of the 2023 businesses. There were 25 new business licenses issued in 2023, and there were 5 more that were applied for and are pending. Several of those businesses took up storefronts that had been vacant for years, so that's kind of nice seeing that. Next meeting is February 21st. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Ketchmark. Trustee Naramatsu, Parks and Recreation.
Yes, the Tots Prep Preschool registration has begun for current families, and general registration for the public starts on February 5th. Coming up in February, on February 17th, the department is hosting a special someone dance for a child and their special someone. Can be anybody, any adult guardian. And that's from 6:30 to 8 at Village Hall. The department is having day off camps again for the upcoming President's Weekend and spring break. And then there's one pretty significant change to summer camp, Camp Kiwanis, and I think all the summer camps for the above the preschool age. There used to be a 3-day option for kids to attend only 3 days a week, and they have eliminated that option, so there'll only be 5-day options going forward this summer. That is to basically simplify the registration process and help the department manage resources and staff. So that is occurring this summer, and registration, I should know this date. I think it opens March 1st. Getting the nod from Stevie, thank you. The elevator is working again in Village Hall, which is great news at almost no cost to the village because it wasn't broken, which is good. And then the department is hosting an Irish lunch for seniors on March 13th, and I'll remind you all as we get close to that date. The next meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission is Tuesday, February 20th at 6:30 here in Village Hall. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Trustee Kaluzny, Conservation and Beautification, please.
Yes, the Conservation Commission has not met since our last meeting, but they do have several things coming up that I just wanted to mention. One, this Saturday, the 27th, from 10 until 12, they are having a tree census volunteer day. So if you're interested in mapping and IDing trees to help the National Park Service map the best potential trail route to propose in South Kiwanis, they're going to be doing training on winter tree ID and on a GPS mapping tool so that you can go around and help map the significant trees. It's going to be really fun and hopefully not freezing, so you should come and join me. And then they're working with the library on a native plant seed exchange on February 17th from 1 to 3 at the Brookfield Library. And also was announced on social media today, but I believe it's also on the webpage for the village, is that the next South Kiwanis Trail Planning Open House for the public is going to be on February 28th here at Village Hall from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So another round of public input on that process with the National Park Service grant for that natural area. Their next meeting is tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. here at Village Hall. The Beautification Commission met earlier this month. They discussed the upcoming projects for the year, including tentatively planning the Project Nice for May 4th, just making sure we have the space to do that in the picnic pavilion. And then we also had a presentation and discussion with the community development staff regarding the direction on the banner program for 2024. So we'll continue talking about that this spring. Their next meeting is February 13th at 6:30 p.m. here at Village Hall. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Trustee Kaluzny. Just to update, the Solid Waste Agency has not met since our last meeting. There is a executive committee meeting for the West Central Municipal Conference that I serve on that will be meeting January 30th in the morning. Plan on attending that. The full membership meeting for January 31st has been rescheduled to coincide. They're going to try and accomplish that at the legislative breakfast, which is February 10th, and I know the board's been sent an invite to that, the annual West Central Municipal Conference legislative breakfast, where we have the opportunity to meet with some of our federal, state, and county leaders. I do plan on attending that, and if any board members are interested, please notify staff so they can make the reservation. So I will update the board more after those two meetings. So that ends the reports of special committees. Oh, I did want to indicate that I had the privilege of speaking at the Psycho Brookfield Annual Summit this past Friday night. I was invited to say a few words on behalf of the village at their annual meeting. They had an excellent turnout despite the weather that night. They talked about their future plans. They reminded they've been in existence for 7 years now, and just talking about the number of accomplishments and things they had, and the number of rides and the growth in the rides and their accomplishments. And they indicated their gratitude to the village and all the departments for the collaboration on all their events and initiatives that they've taken, and having a very exciting agenda for this year. I believe we will be talking about a bike race coming up in a future meeting in February. They are very excited about that. So I was very pleased to be there. Great crowd, great turnout, and I just want to thank them publicly for all they've done for the village and cycling in Brookfield. So that ends the reports of special committees. At this point, I'd entertain a motion to pass the omnibus agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Kaluzny, second by trustee Gahuli. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Narodsky?
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the items under regular business. At this point, I'd entertain a motion to pass an ordinance authorizing the village to borrow funds from the Public Water Utility System Loan Program through the Environmental Protection Agency.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by trustee Naramatsu, second by trustee Gahuli. Questions or comments? As the memo explains, this is, things that we've talked about during the budget. We're going to apply for these loans through the Illinois EPA, and, for these, it's 4 projects, I believe, 2 for each year, and depending on the availability of loans. But the first step is to pass this loan authorization, so. Questions or comments from the board? You're hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Narodsky?
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item, I entertain a motion to adopt an intergovernmental agreement with Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways for supplemental funding for the Des Plaines River Trail South Phase 1 engineering.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by trustee Ketchmark, second by trustee Kaluzny. And this was a topic that came up at the Cycle Brookfield meeting. As everyone knows, we're trying to move this forward with the Des Plaines Trail and the 31st Street connection. Funding, we had exhausted the existing funding, and we had bills that weren't being reimbursed. Through staff's efforts, we've been able to, the counties come up with some additional funding. We have to enter into this intergovernment agreement to move forward with the Phase 1 engineering. So asking for approval of this tonight to try and keep that project moving, so. Questions or comments from the board?
I'm pleased to see this in front of us again. I'm eager to see it moving.
Yes, this, as I indicated at Cycle Brookfield, it was a very popular topic. It's something that, I explained to them that we're still in the middle of Phase 1 engineering, and I think all of you know that Phase 1 is not the last phase, but if we don't get through Phase 1, we don't get to Phase 2, so we're going to try and keep the pressure on our, state, county, and even federal officials to keep this project moving forward. We all know that this trail is such an important kind of no-brainer issue that should be done, but we also have come to know that there's nothing that's easy, so we got to just keep working our way through it. But this was a big accomplishment through staff to get this additional funding available to keep this going, so.
I too am excited to see it here, being that it was 2014 when we were having the initial meetings on this, and we were in these rooms with 30, 40 people from various government organizations trying to pull this together, and it's been deathly slow. But you have a lot of different government bodies that are working on it and trying to pull everyone together. I mean, community-wise, I think it goes across 4 or 5 communities right here. But from the county to the zoo to the Forest Preserve to the Friends of the Forest Preserve, it's been quite interesting.
I know I don't have to assure the board it's a priority for staff and us all departments to try and keep this going, and they have taken the lead on this, and we are the lead agency, and we're the ones pressing it, so obviously your comments are well taken. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Narodsky?
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and the last item under regular business, I'd entertain a motion to pass an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 25 Motorola APX 8000 XE portable radios, 10 single-unit chargers, 4 multi-unit chargers, and 15 lithium-ion batteries through the Cook County Purchasing Contract number 35622 in the amount of $219,261.88.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by trustee Cote, second by trustee Hendricks. Obviously, this was something we talked about during the budget and how we have the great need for these radios and how we wanted to accelerate this going forward. So questions or comments from the board? I see both chiefs in the audience with a look of anticipation in their face, wondering what we're going to do here. So if there's no further questions or comments, roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Narodsky?
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. If it was as easy as me signing it now and giving it to you to go pick them up, I'd have you do it. We'll expedite everything as quickly as we can, so. Okay. All right, Doug. Doug, open the checkbook. Let's go. Okay. All right. That ends the items we have under regular business. Stevie, anything by way of manager's report? Okay. That ends thank you. That ends the items we have on the village board meeting. At 7:24, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Cote, second by trustee Gahuli. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Cote?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks? Aye. Trustee Nearmatu?
Aye.
Trustee Gahuli?
Aye.
Trustee Kaluzny?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, the board meeting's adjourned at 7:25. We're going to start the committee of the whole meeting in just a moment. We do